Welcome, everyone, to another fun episode of Real Hawk Talk. Seahawks 49ers post-game reaction show. In case you've been living under a rock, the 49ers beat the Seahawks 26-21 in really what ended up being a Sunday night football legendary matchup. I truly think this was one of those games for the ages that we'll be talking about for years from now. But it ultimately, football is ultimately talked about as a game of inches. And the Seahawks were probably 1 inch away from winning that football game tonight and also winning the NFC West. Huge bummer for Seahawks fans, obviously, but I do want to just, start from the onset by saying the 49ers are a super talented football team. They're super well coached in Kyle Shanahan. They've been excellent for most of the entire year. For them to walk into Seattle in prime time where Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll have historically performed pretty well, under the bright lights, they went in and kicked our ass for sure for one half and ultimately stood strong on a defensive stand to win the game. So with that said, I've got Jeff Simmons and Brian Nemhauser at Real Jeff Simmons and at Hawkblogger on Twitter. Brian, I'm going to start with you since I believe you were at the game. How are you feeling right now?
Well, I'm sick, so I don't have much voice left. But, my expectations were pretty low. I mean, after last week, I felt like, honestly, the Seahawks season kind of ended against Arizona with the injuries that they sustained. And as much as I was excited to see Marshawn play, that was probably the thing I was most looking forward to. I didn't really feel like the Seahawks had an advantage at almost any position on the field. And when they were down 13-0 at halftime and everyone was freaking out, frustrated, I was kind of like, this is kind of better than I expected. That's not that – I mean, they were definitely getting their butts kicked, but it was 13-0. It was like one score, and it all of a sudden was going to be a game. So I cannot believe – I mean, the Seahawks should have won multiple different ways, whether it's the defensive pass interference, whether it's not getting a delay a game on the 1 yard line, whether it's that final play. It's crazy to me that the Seahawks should have won this game. And they had a massive talent disadvantage in this game. So I think you got to give credit to the coaches for their adjustments at halftime. Whatever they did seemed to work in some ways. And then
Brian, you're cutting out just a little bit. I'm going to switch to you, Jeff.
To Russell, I think that was one of his best games of the year. Tried really well, and that was encouraging. So,
Brian, you're seeming to cutting out just a little bit, so I'm going to switch to Jeff while you try to reconnect with your connection. Jeff, I saw some of your comments in the group chat. I know you're upset right now, but how are you feeling?
I'm conflicted. To be honest, because I was really down on the Seahawks going into this game. Like when we had the show this week, I did not think they had a chance. And the first half went pretty much – I know what Brian's saying, it was only 13-0, but it felt like 30-0 at that point. And it felt like the Seahawks had no hope on offense. I come out of this game, for the most part, pretty encouraged, actually. Because I didn't think I thought their offense had completely lost itself. The fact that they were able to score essentially 3, almost 4 touchdowns against San Francisco in a half, and they kind of let Russ cook, and we've heard that so many times, and that's the offense we've wanted to see all year. And I'm pretty pumped about the game overall. The ending sucks. How do you get a delay of game at the 1 yard line, first and goal from the 1? Could have had 3 or 4 shots from there. And no, they don't review the third down. It's really stupid also. But it's just, I don't know how Pete and these guys screw up first and goal from the 1 and end up with a delay of game. I don't know how you can screw that up. Their game management all year, we've talked about it. That is such a bad mistake. But overall, big picture, if this game was for a bye right now, Evan, I would be losing my shit. I would not be able to talk right now. The fact that it was just for the 3 versus 5 seed, it lightened the mood for me. But if we just lost the bye on 1 inch, I would be going berserk.
Do we have any idea why the delay of game happened? I mean, that was so weird.
Yeah, we do actually. Supposedly George Fant got injured on the play before, and there was a ton of commotion going on, and George Fant needed help getting off the field. Remember, they didn't have any timeouts left. So I think I don't remember who tweeted that, but that's what I saw as potential explanation.
I don't know. That seems so weird. How is there not an injury timeout? Or I don't know. I almost don't want to hear the explanation because I'm with Jeff. I don't think there is any explanation for that to happen.
There's no way you could. I agree. It's going to be more frustrating to hear them try to rationalize it. And why are they always so disorganized on the 1 yard line? Should that be pretty basic?
Yeah. No, this is something. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I ask you guys something totally annoying, but I'm going to ask it anyway? If that hadn't happened and it was at the 1 yard line, Marshawn was coming in, would you have wanted them to hand it off or would you have wanted them to pass the ball?
Well, there was, 20 seconds left with no timeouts?
And it was second down because they had spiked it on 1st and goal. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So it's, oh boy. Fate tells me we should hand it off to Marshawn Lynch. I think handing it off to Marshawn Lynch is actually the right call in that situation. Do you disagree, Jeff?
I do too. I think just the way he leaped over the pile on that other touchdown, I think he could have ran that exact play again. And for whatever reason, Richard Sherman was on the sideline for that play. They knew what was coming. And it's so upsetting. We just didn't get to see that happen. And the ending was crazy, though. The Seahawks still should have won. There should have been a pass interference on Hollister. Hollister probably should have scored on that 4th down play anyway. He could have just reached the ball over the goal line. But it's frustrating that they couldn't pull that out. But overall, I'm pretty encouraged, man. I'm not a moral victory guy. I think that's chicken shit stuff. But I thought the Seahawks looked so hopeless in the first half. And going into the playoffs to have that kind of fueling them, I don't think it's the worst thing.
Well, isn't this kind of the big question? Let's just assume for a second the Seahawks could beat the Eagles. I'm not assuming that they can, but let's just for the sake of conversation. 2 weeks from now, the Seahawks would play the 49ers in San Francisco. Is that right?
Yeah, unless Minnesota beats New Orleans somehow.
So if that's the case, you can assume Quandre Diggs is back and hopefully Dwayne Brown is back. And let's say that there's no other injuries. Do you feel like the Seahawks have the potential to go into San Francisco and win that game?
Yeah.
Especially if Dwayne Brown is healthy. I think that's one of the biggest losses they've been dealing with. Quandre Diggs was a huge loss tonight. The safety play was pretty much garbage. Delano Hill played way too much time tonight. Don't even get me started on the whole Marquise Blair situation with him. But to answer your question, I do think they have a much better shot. And you know what? In some crazy world, if the Seahawks were to play the Niners, 3 times in 1 year, and they had beat them today, it's very hard to beat a really good team or even any football team 3 out of 3 times. I know that's sort of like a silver lining moral victory point, but it is really difficult to beat a football team 3 straight times all in the same year. So, but we've got Philly coming up. Are you guys excited? Are you still looking at this game? What's your thoughts, Jeff?
I don't know. I don't know what to think. The first half and second half were so different.
Yeah. In a sense, this was kind of like prototypical Seahawks football where they just dance around and don't really give a fuck for an entire half/3 quarters. And then suddenly they turn into a different football team. And, credit to what Brian said, they did make some good halftime adjustments, but you almost wonder what this game would have looked like if they had shown up to play in the first 2 quarters.
Well, I honestly got to jump in there. I thought that's not my assessment of what happened at all. I think that they came out and they thought they had a game plan that was going to work. And what I saw in the stadium on offense is Russell would drop back and there was no guys open. Whatever plays they thought they were going to surprise the 49ers with did not surprise the 49ers. And so I think that their game plan they got outcoached in the first half. I don't think they didn't like come to play or anything. And then the second half, they made some adjustments and were able to find some things that worked. So I didn't really get the sense that they came out flat-footed or, anything like that. I just don't think their scheme worked out.
I think the defensive play was probably the most discouraging to me in the first half. I know
we're so bad. We're so bad on defense, dude.
We are so bad. We're so bad. Like our tackling. I don't know who missed all those tackles in the first half, but it was horrible.
Their guys, conversely, like our guys were never open. Their guys, there was like 10 yards between their guys and the next closest Seahawk. And then when a Seahawk came to tackle them, it was just, oh my God. I mean, they almost converted that 3rd and 17 because Trey whiffed on that tackle. I mean,
oh my God, yeah. And you can see like Clowney just was like a shell of himself out there. We have no pass rush on the edge. Bobby in coverage has just been tough this year. Lano Hill, it's tough. The defense isn't really good at anything. Now that
Brian, sorry, I got to jump in real quick. Brian, I wanted to ask you this. How were Niner fans in the stadium tonight? Were they –
oh, my God, they're so douchey. They're just so douchey. I mean, it's exactly the guys I told you they were, which is like rich, San Francisco, upper, whatever. And they're just in there trying to act all hood with their flat-rimmed hats and like, all these hand gestures. And they're just like punks. Like, I'm not even talking about like – there's actually like genuine hardcore 49er fans that are tough like that. But I'm talking about the ones that are total posers, little string bean, kids. And they're just so obnoxious.
Yeah, in front of us with the mask on.
Yeah, I mean, it was so bad. And I mean, they're just gutless. I mean, they don't show up until they've got a team that's, clearly better than ours. And I don't know, they're just terrible. And whatever, they're going to be in our mentions all week. I don't care at all. I mean, if I'm a 49er fan, I'm like, holy crap, we should have lost to that team. And that is embarrassing. Like, the 49ers are the most talented roster 1 through 53 in the game, as far as I'm concerned. People said, oh, the Saints are. The Saints are not. There's no one that would take the Saints roster over the 49ers roster. And the Seahawks are like decimated by injury, and we should have won. Like, we legitimately should have won. And we didn't. But, like, so I don't know. 49ers fans, they can tell themselves whatever they want. But I think they're going to have a tough time if Super Bowl is what they're after.
In terms of any positives moving into next week, was there anything that stood out to either of you? Jeff, I'll start with you. Anything that – actually, Jeff, you said coming out of this game you were ecstatic and excited and – not ecstatic and excited.
Not ecstatic.
Encouraged. Encouraged. Tell me why you're encouraged.
I'm encouraged that this Seahawks team was able to compete with what Brian was saying, what I think is the best roster in the NFL. I didn't think the Seahawks had a chance at all in this game. And even at the best of times, I thought the Seahawks are still not nearly as good as San Francisco. Like, they needed like a all-world game from Jadeveon Clowney last time to beat them. And the fact that they, with all these injuries and 0 points at halftime and pretty much nothing going, the fact that they made that a game to me is just encouraging going into the playoffs. Because going into, like, if you watch that first half and, like, I know you could maybe beat Philly anyway, like, it just seemed like the playoffs were kind of a waste of time. Now, watching that team, they should have, like what Brian said, they should have beat San Francisco. I know the ending sucks and would have been nice to win the division, but, like, I think this team could make somewhat of a playoff run. And it's probably unlikely, let's be honest, but I did not think I'd come out of this game with any hope. I thought they'd beat us down. The end of the game sucked, and Pete's comments I just saw are fucking annoying. But I just think the fact that they showed signs of life, especially on offense, Ross should have thrown 4 touchdowns or they should have scored 4 touchdowns in one half against this defense. Based on where this offense was the last 8 weeks, to me, that's really encouraging.
Jeff, I'm sorry, I was muted. What were Pete's comments that he just mentioned? I haven't.
Oh God, you're not gonna like this.
Oh boy.
He says we were late getting in our personnel group. It's on us. We were late getting in there. There was miscommunication between which running backs were going to come in. They couldn't figure out how to get out of their 4 receiver personnel into their heavy personnel on time. After the Ursua catch. And it's inexplicable.
Keep talking for a second, guys. I got to attend to something.
Yeah. Let's see if there's any further quotes on this. Pete says that Diggs has a really good chance to play next week. Number 1. Is there any other comments on here? It says, we called the personnel and we didn't get it communicated with the backs. We were late getting in there. We just didn't get it done. We didn't get the substitution done properly, and we were late with it. How the fuck does this happen? It's 1st and goal from the 1. That's the most basic personnel change you can make. And I remember when the Seahawks lost the Super Bowl, everyone's going to bring that up. The whole thing Bill Belichick said is when he looked across the field at Pete Carroll looked like he was in total – he said the sideline looked like it was in total chaos. And that's why he didn't call that timeout in the Super Bowl 49. I don't understand why at the end of the games these guys get in total chaos and can't run basic strategy. It's ridiculous. So, Brian, did you miss that rant at all?
I heard. You know, the only thing that I told you I didn't want to hear the reason because I was going to be annoyed by the reason.
Yeah, like that's not good.
But here's the one thing I will say about that I'm not thrilled about, but I think is legitimate. They lost 3 running backs in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They got 2 guys, and the guy that was supposed to come in was Marshawn. I saw him run onto the field halfway, turn back, run back on. Like, I think that there is some semblance of a reason for that particular group to not know what to do. Like, that is, it's understandable. I still think it is inexcusable. Those are 2 different things. Does that make sense?
I would have loved to just see the chance of Marshawn jumping over the pile for the win.
Well, I mean, that's what my son Isaac and I were saying the whole time in the stadium was like when the Seahawks scored that touchdown to get down 26-21 is like, we want to watch them have a chance. Just can defense hold them one time? And Lano Hill's best play of his career was getting his butt kicked downfield for a 15-yard personal foul that allowed the Seahawks to get the ball back. And we saw Russell bring him down the field against that defense. It felt to me, it was, I couldn't help but think about, okay, I want them to get to the 1 yard line. I want them to hand it to Marshawn. Or the negative, I was like, oh God, Sherman's going to intercept it in the end zone. Like,
that's what worried me too.
One of those things is going to happen. And I was going to be like, oh God, you know?
I was thinking it was the exact inverse of the Colin Kaepernick thing. I'm like, don't throw at Sherman. Don't throw at Sherman.
Well, you know, and this is the thing, Jeff. I mean, I don't think I've been this kind of like whatever about a loss this big. Like maybe
I'm the same way. I mean, I'm conflicted.
It's weird. Like I really, really, really felt like the season ended last week. That's what I felt like. And so to me, this was like a consolation game just to see if we could like make a game of it. Like, and honestly, that second half, Seahawks were the better team. Like overall, like the offense, as you said, like, did we punt in the second half?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Like,
they scored.
That's crazy to me. And that offensive line, all of a sudden, it wasn't like Russ had all day, but there was space for him. There was a pocket for him to move and to throw. And DK Metcalf was annihilating Ankello Witherspoon. Like, Metcalf was open almost every play. That's really encouraging. I thought Witherspoon was going to shut him down. Tyler Lockett, he made his plays. John Ursua made a big play. I mean, holy crap. How crazy would that have been for John Ursua to be the guy?
He almost scored. If he just rolled the other way, he might have scored.
I know. So Marshawn looked all right. He didn't look great, but he had some nice runs. He looked serviceable. He looked like he could be a number 2 back for us. Travis Homer, I thought looked like he could be fine. Like he's not going to be great, but he looked fine.
when I expected us to lose by like 6, I was gonna say like Travis Homer game ball, like pretty good, but the end of the game just sucks. But I'm kind of like you. I'm not that bummed out about it. If the bye was on the line though, I would be devastated right now. I wouldn't be able to take that loss.
In a way, the football gods almost did us a favor this morning. Don't you think?
I agree. That would have been so crushing.
Like we were, or Brian, were you watching that Lions Packers game this morning? Yeah. And the Lions almost pulled it off, but us being complete and total clowns actually believed in them for a little bit.
I wasted so much energy on that.
But the inevitable occurred, and I think the football gods spared us some heartbreak tonight, because this was a phenomenal night of football, but goddamn, do I wish we were on the other side of this game.
It would be fun.
I
think, honestly, to be totally honest, the best part about winning would just be able to troll 49er fans. Like,
totally.
I would be excited to have another division title. That's cool. But just like to soak and like to bathe in their tears, that would be so fun. That was the thing I was looking forward to the most. Because this would, can you imagine how crushing this was for are they in the number 1 seed now?
Yeah.
Yep.
They would have lost the number 1 seed. I mean, that would have been so awesome, but it didn't happen. I mean, they should have lost to a team that was playing Lano Hill and like Cody Barton and John Ursua and Tyrone Swoops. I mean, we lost Jerron Brown. Like, that's somewhat of a big deal. Like, that's how freaking like screwed we are. And somehow, I mean, I don't know. Did they say anything about George Fant's injury? Is it a big deal? Do we have a left tackle next week?
Jeff, have you been following the press conference?
Nothing about Fant. He just said that Diggs is going to play probably. I saw a funny line that the Seahawks going to buy by playing the Eagles next week.
Look, there's nothing to do with the Seahawks, I guess, but I got a lot of pleasure out of the Cowboys blowing out the Redskins and just having a dominant performance and going home. Like, that was just awesome. That's exactly what I wanted to happen, is all the Cowboy fans like just feeling so frustrated, because that's the thing. I mean, I think that's part of why we're not that bummed, is like we're in, and you got a team like the Cowboys, who, by the way, I would pick the Cowboys to beat the Seahawks if we were going to Dallas for sure. 100%. 100%. That offense against our defense would not be pretty, and they're sitting at home. So, I don't know. I have to go back and look at the Eagles and see some of the changes. They do have some of their runners back. We'll get into that this week, but yeah, I'm encouraged. I wouldn't surprise me at all if like the Seahawks don't play as well offensively in that game as they did tonight. Like they probably held a bunch of stuff for this game to try to get ready for it, but it was fun. I have to admit, it was fun. I had fun.
You know what's even more fun right now?
What?
My mentions. Oh boy.
Are you getting it bad?
I can. It's like constant refresh on my screen of 49er fans. This is what I will say. Twitter has a lot of downsides. There's a lot of negative aspects to Twitter. But one thing Twitter has given me is super thick skin. And I'm not saying this in a sarcastic way. Like, you could pretty much say anything about me personally you wanted to, and I wouldn't be insulted. The only thing I feel truly insulted by is if you insult In and Out. I will get angry and I will get upset if you talk trash about my burgers. But other than that, Niner fans, it's just falling on deaf ears. It's football. You can't say anything that's going to hurt me. The Seahawks are still your daddy, and they'll make you your daddy in the playoffs. It's the truth.
Yeah, I would have loved to see them just sweating that game out.
Yeah, and they were, but
of course they were probably when Ursua made that catch. I would have loved to see all those guys who are writing you their face.
Well, yeah. I think that far more annoying is just going to be listening to all the folks who feel like their priors were confirmed tonight. Bathing in the glory of a game management decision that screwed the Seahawks. Like, whatever. It was the Seahawks lost. It sucked, but in general, I was pretty encouraged, as Jeff said.
Anything else we wanted to cover before we wrap up this disappointing night?
Jimmy Garoppolo, 18-22. A good night.
He did have a good night.
No touchdowns, no turnovers. I mean,
he didn't have to do much, to be honest. A lot of the stuff he did was well designed. Where guys, what you were saying before, those guys are 10 yards of separation.
Really open.
Like he didn't make one throw where I was like, wow. I don't want to sound like I'm crushing Jimmy. He played a very good game, no turnovers, no mistakes.
What about that deep right ball to
Juszczyk?
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, that was
a good point. But that Michael Kendricks fell and was like running 3 steps behind him.
Well,
like Trey Madden at a 50-yard.
George Kittle played tonight. I don't feel like George Kittle dominated the Seahawks. I don't think he was if he had played in the first game, all of a sudden there's no way Jadeveon Clowney would have had the game he had or anything like that. Like, he was good, but I don't feel like, oh my God, there's no way we can beat the 49ers if they have George Kittle playing. Like, I don't know. Did you guys feel like he was dominant tonight? He ended up with 7 catches.
I wonder how many of those catches were for first downs, though.
I wouldn't say he was dominant, but he just makes their offense a lot better.
Of course he does.
Yeah,
of course he does. I mean, like, it wasn't like they couldn't stop George Kittle. I mean, they couldn't stop anybody. Like, I don't think he stood out any more than Deebo Samuel or, Deebo Samuel had 5 catches for 102 yards tonight.
He had a good game. He had a really good game. Yeah, it was just kind of funny. The Seahawks, before that last drive they had defensively, like anytime they needed to stop, San Francisco, in the second half, San Francisco went down the field in like 4 plays.
I know. The defense is, screw Al Woods. Continually screw you, Al Woods.
Yeah, he took away their one
play in this game could have been a difference maker. 100%.
Shaq had a really good game, actually, coming off that injury. I thought he had a really good game. That KJ made some pretty good plays. That's probably about it for their defense, who played well.
Yeah, we had 2 sacks, 2 quarterback hits.
First drive of the game.
6
tackles. And Javion jumped offside and ruined the first drive.
KJ had a couple nice plays.
Yeah, KJ had a couple big blow-up hits that kind of got them back into it. But other than that, their defense just looks slow.
Yeah. David Moore had a nice punt return. Jason Myers
he had a good game, actually, David Moore.
What's that?
David Moore had a good game.
Didn't he only have like 1 or 2 catches?
Exactly. For David Moore, that's a good game.
2 catches and 2 targets is a big time for him.
He doesn't. Every time he has the ball now, I'm terrified he's going to fumble.
For good reason.
He scares the shit out of me.
Michael Dixon had a good game. Special teams had a decent game overall.
I thought Travis Homer looked really good. I think the kind of offense they need to play, like this hurry up, that fits Travis Homer really well. And
my hot take is I don't think Marshawn Lynch should see many carries next week.
The problem with Marshawn is he kind of dictates exactly what they're going to do, and it's really easy to defend. And, he's great in that goal line set. He's great in, a short yardage maybe. But, when you're 2nd and 8 and Marshawn comes in, you're not throwing the ball. And if you're going to run the ball, it's probably going to be 2 yards up the middle. He had one drive where he looked pretty good. I think their first scoring drive where he kind of brought them some life. But that's the only issue with Marshawn. He kind of gives away your tendencies.
Yeah.
Brian, we should probably wrap, but also, do we have a plan for this upcoming week for the preview podcast? Just because
Wednesday night, as usual.
There are issues with that.
Oh, is that
think about your calendar. We may have to adjust plans accordingly, but that's okay.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, either way, follow our Twitter accounts at Real Hawk Talk, at Hawkblogger, at Real Jeff Simmons, at Evan Hill SEA. We'll tweet out the upcoming times, but we'll for sure do a post-game reaction show. I don't know if you guys saw it, but the Seahawks play the Eagles the afternoon slot on Sunday, which I believe is 4:40 Eastern time. So early afternoon for Seattle folks or West Coast folks. And it looks like New Orleans and Minnesota is playing in the morning, and then Buffalo and Houston, the afternoon slot on Saturday, and then the evening slot on Saturday is Tennessee in New England. Got an exciting, weekend of games coming up. It'll be fun. So with that said, guys, we appreciate you tuning in to the Real Hawk Talk post-game show, Seahawks Niners. Fortunately, the Seahawks dropped to the Niners in devastating fashion. But once again, congrats to the 49ers and all of their fans. Excellent season by them, and they deserve it. Enjoy the title because we're taking it back next year. With that said, go Hawks.